brain is wired to understand physical boundaries around you to keep you from falling off a cliff.
But society has taught you to sacrifice your personal boundaries at the expense of everyone else.
And while doing so, you have little time for your dreams.
Dang. On today's episode of Forms and Focus, we are discussing focus and boundaries and what you can do today to establish healthy boundaries, increase your focus on long-term goals, and accomplish your dreams. Let's
dig in.
Nice, bro.
Yeah.
I'm Jonathan Noel.
I'm Brian Noel.
This is Forms and Focus,
where we provide guided forms to manifest
radical focus.
We want you to be focused as
boy.
Today we're talking about focus and boundaries.
Nice.
Hey, bro, I don't have time to work on my dreams because I have to do everything for everyone else.
Sounds like you have not set enough personal boundaries.
So here's what's really interesting. So let's start with the brain like we always do. The brain creates a buffer. So Meghan Rabbit in What You Need to Know. Is it really rabbit? That's what I have on my notes. You can look it up on the citations. What you need to know about personal space. There are brain regions that are sizing up the space around you. The parietal cortex, which processes sensory information, and the premotor cortex, which plays a role in generating movements.
These areas of the brain have neurons that fire to let you know if something or someone is getting too close, and you unconsciously respond by, says Graziano. I guess they're part of the study as well.
Right.
I call them bubble wrap neurons. Okay, that's cool. They align your vision, hearing, and sense of touch to build a multi-sensory map of the space that helps you create a bubble wrap of safety around your body.
Isn't that crazy?
Whoa.
Yeah, bubble wrap neurons.
That makes sense. It's like you can sense when someone's like back here, even if you can't see them.
Yeah.
They're like right there.
So this is pretty interesting, right? So the question is, how close is too close, right? So Meghan continues research from the 1960s, which scientists agree still holds up, identified 4 of these, each reserved for different people in your life as it relates to personal, physical space.
Intimate space, up to 18 inches from the body. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You know, friends and family.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I didn't feel like my bubble was.
Your bubble wasn't getting popped.
Then you've got your personal space, so that's 1.5 to 4 feet from the body, and you got social space, 4 to 12 feet. It's probably like out in public and stuff.
Yeah, acquaintances
and
strangers.
The next one's public space. Sorry, social space, acquaintances and strangers. Public space, anything beyond 12 feet.
Yeah. So if you're in public and if someone gets closer than 12 feet, you're going to be aware of their presence and kind of paying attention.
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're like ready to put them in a leg lock and like throw them on the ground.
Yeah.
But
you're aware.
You're just kind of aware like, hey, this person's not going to start charging me with a sharp bottle.
Yes.
Like a broken piece of.
But it's pretty interesting, like if you think about like space and, you know, put people in those buckets, intimate space, then it goes to personal space and social space, then public space. And it's kind of neat. Like think in your mind as you're in those environments, what am I comfortable with and what am I not comfortable with? This is totally not in our notes, but I read that people that are more confident tend to be okay with being closer than people who lack confidence, which makes sense. Like if I'm not self-confident, I'm restrictive, don't be close to me. It's people that are confident. And that's why, like, if you're someone who's not confident and you have a boss who is confident and they get too close and that bothers the hell out of you.
Yeah, then they're going to keep doing it because they notice that it
it's
bothers
an intimidating factor. Yeah. It's pretty interesting. So here's what's really interesting. So our brain is very aware of these types of different interactions in the space. But what we suck at is setting personal boundaries. So a study by Bethany Judy, personal boundaries types and how we set them. She said, from childhood, we're often taught to bend and mold ourselves to make others comfortable. Example, messaging is implied as a school dress code or something that. So that's an implied message of boundaries. You should
Right.
wear this to present yourself in this way.
Yep.
So here's a direct example. I don't care if you don't want to hug your grandfather. It's rude not to. So that's an example of like literally don't take whatever boundary you have or uncomfortableness, ignore that.
Right, because it would be rude.
Yeah.
In this case.
And if you think about like culture and a lot of these things, a lot of boundaries are giving to us to make other people feel comfortable, even if we're uncomfortable, which is not good. That's not
And there's
healthy.
a lot of that.
There's a lot of that.
She also continues, we've been taught from a young age to put the feelings of others ahead of our own needs, to the point that many of us don't even know how to answer what are boundaries, how do I set them?
Isn't that wild? So in school, we're taught to conform, right?
Yep.
All the way up into adult, we're taught to conform, and then we go to work. You're supposed to conform. We literally don't even have the skill sets to set our own boundaries because we're taught that we are meant to perform for everyone around us, and that's why a lot of us, number one, you can't focus on your dreams because everything in your life has taught you that focusing on your dreams is selfish.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is so wild. So. All right, so I'm going to butcher this name, but it's Annie, and I'll just leave you to go to Forms and Focus podcast blog post to read the last name. In personal boundaries and building self-love, unhealthy or weak personal boundaries are often identified as having a poor sense of self-identity or limited feelings of self-worth. For many who grew up in a codependent environment, they may be out of touch with their own feelings or may have not been allowed personal space. Right? Earlier in their life, which again, just this cyclical.
Yeah, exactly. From a young age.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty tough.
Yeah. Categories and environments where personal boundaries are important. So this is Annie. She continues. These boundaries typically fall into a few specific categories. First one being emotional.
Yes.
Protecting our own emotional well-being.
Yeah.
So
when's the last time you thought about your emotional well-being and boundaries to protect that?
I don't think most people do that.
Yeah. So next is physical, protecting your physical space. So again, like back to the example of work. I know my wife, there's only a couple of people in this world that she will like hug.
Yeah.
She just like, if you're like some random dude.
No hugs.
Don't touch my wife. Just don't touch her. She will automatically not trust you.
Yeah.
Like, cause she just like, do not break that boundary. Right.
She has it set.
She has it set.
There's a line in the sand.
And you can see it on her face. But yeah, those physical boundaries. And everyone's different, right? And so we have to
some
respect
people
other
are
people.
Hugging strangers and
they're
wearing shirts that say free hugs and they're out, and that's fine.
Yeah, no slam
and that's
on
not to say that one's right or one's wrong. We're talking about personal
That's right.
boundaries.
Yeah. What are your boundaries? What are you comfortable with?
If your personal boundary is nudist beach,
go to the nudist beach.
Go to whatever.
Yeah, but don't go to the regular beach.
Nude.
You might encroach on other people's personal boundaries.
So the next one being sexual, protecting our needs and our safety sexually.
Yeah,
so
super critical there.
Obviously part of the list,
Yeah.
setting those boundaries.
Yes. Next, workplace, protecting our ability to do our work without interference or drama.
Yeah.
Workplace boundaries. We're going to talk.
That's big too,
that.
because it's also like, setting those boundaries. Like, why should I do more because I'm faster?
Oh yeah.
And you have other people who are sitting, not doing anything.
Yeah.
It's like, let's delegate the work properly.
That's right.
Setting those boundaries where you're not getting punished, especially if you're better.
Yeah.
At your job.
People really struggle with workplace boundaries because we're taught that, you have to perform. You have to do whatever's required.
Yeah.
And if not, like, quote, you'll get fired or...
Stupid.
Yeah. And so a lot of us struggle. A lot of people struggle with workplace boundaries.
Yeah. Next one would be material, protecting our personal belongings.
Yeah. Which I think we do that pretty well.
I think, that one's probably comes the most natural to people.
Yeah. Now you can't borrow my lawnmower. Don't park close to my nice car. Yep. Take your shoes off when you come in my house.
Yep. Yeah. So maybe that one's the most instinctual.
That's actually the one we probably overcorrect.
Maybe so.
We
yeah.
don't share shit.
Yeah.
We don't give anything
Don't
away.
touch, use, look at, or use any of my stuff.
Yeah. So the last one is time, which is something that we suck at.
Yeah, exactly.
Protecting the use and misuse of our time, setting time boundaries. Critical, super critical.
Yeah, definitely on that one. Anytime you're interacting with other people, you have to set boundaries.
Yeah. If you think about that.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, even if you're hanging out with people you've known for a long time,
Yeah.
you at least set a boundary like, I got to get out of here by around this time.
Yeah.
Or, I'm not hungry. Or it's like, don't feed me. Don't do this. I don't need any more drinks. Whatever it may be.
Yes.
It might, however small those boundaries might be in that moment, but
Yeah.
you're still setting boundaries.
Oh, that's a really good example too. Like if you're out at a work function and you're like, I'll have a drink, and then I'm heading out, and everyone's like, oh, have another drink, and you're like, no, I don't want another drink, and they're like, what are you, some kind of prude?
What are
it's
you
like?
You don't like DUIs? Loser?
Yeah, you don't like being hungover at work tomorrow, not doing shit for work. So yeah, I love this. So like this week after you listen to this podcast, really start analyzing every time you have a social interaction, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Every time you have one, you can ask yourself, have I set appropriate personal boundaries in this relationship, in this interaction, and in this environment?
Emotionally, physically, sexually, workplace, material, or time boundaries.
Yeah. And you know what? If you don't set personal boundaries,
someone else is setting their boundaries around you.
Yeah. Yeah. They're setting your boundaries for you.
Yep.
Do you like that? Does that sound like something you like? I mean, think about that. It's like when we talked about conflict. Do you want to control conflict, or do you want to be controlled by conflict? Do you want to control your boundaries, or do you want to be controlled by other people's boundaries they set for you?
Yeah.
Man, you don't want that. It's hard. It's tough. It's a lot. So, start exercising these muscles. You can start small. Me, like, I like my work emails. That's a big one for people. Like, I don't turn it on after a certain time.
Right. After this time, work doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. And that makes you a better employee the next day because you mentally detach yourself from it.
Yeah. Now you're sharper. You had a break, and then you're ready to go.
Yeah. For me, focus blocks, if I have a very critical focus block, I turn everything off. I turn my notification, even during work hours. If I have something for work I need to get done, I take 2 hours and I disconnect from everything.
Makes
I
sense.
get it done because I don't want to work at 11 o'clock at night trying to get it done because a bunch of people interrupted me with things that are not as important. Setting.
That's
boundaries.
a nice boundary, bro.
Hell yeah.
Boundary setting.
That's right. So what do we do? How do we set these boundaries? Oh, man.
Yeah. First and foremost, bro, what are we doing?
So this is from a book, Henry Cloud. It is an act of kindness to yourself and those around you to set boundaries.
Wasn't that nice? Last episode we were talking about hugging your inner nurturer, and now you're setting those boundaries for yourself.
Allow your inner nurturer
to set your
boundaries, not your inner critic.
Some tips. This is from 8 Ways to Establish Healthy Boundaries at Work. This is a reference from Dr. Dana Gayanta's book, which offers a step-by-step process to assessing personal boundaries at work.
Yes.
For one, you have to know your limits.
That's right.
Okay. Pay attention to your feelings. Give yourself permission to set boundaries. I think that's a big one. And then consider your environment. So I think the biggest one there is definitely giving yourself permission.
Yeah.
Because if you're setting those boundaries, you give yourself permission to do it. You do it. And then you get to see everyone else's reaction. And if they've got a problem with it, then now you know that that's kind of their problem.
And it's you bring up a good point, right? So if you have not done a good job in setting boundaries, the second you do, your friends may not be your friends anymore. The person who was your friend.
Exactly.
So you have
the coworkers you got along with, or this person, and
that they dumped all their shit on you and you did.
And now you set the boundaries and they're like, what happened?
Yeah.
Oh.
So
you get to find out who the real ones are in your life.
But as you set boundaries, you probably want to get a couple of new friends who have healthy boundaries so they can coach you along and kind of support you, because you're going to have some backlash. The people who ran over you, they're going to be pissed that they're not running over you anymore.
Exactly.
That's good. So yeah, give yourself permission. So next, communicate up front. So if you're in a new environment, the best way to set boundaries is be firm about those boundaries immediately. So again, back to the email thing, like I don't answer emails after 7. Hey, I emailed you last night and you didn't respond. Yeah, because I don't answer emails after 7. Well, I mean, this is an important project. Well, you probably should have emailed me before 7 if it was so important.
If it was that important. This is a thing I don't do.
Yeah.
And everyone knows that.
When I go on vacation, I don't work.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't do it. So whatever those boundaries are for you, clearly communicate. Because if you don't communicate those boundaries, how do people know?
They got to know.
You can't be frustrated at people for encroaching on your boundaries that you didn't communicate.
Exactly.
Why didn't you answer that email?
Yeah.
Well, who are you to tell me to answer emails? I don't answer emails past 7. Oh, well, thanks for letting me know. So communicate those freaking boundaries.
Yeah, communicate up front and then create clear structure. Structure is important in the workplace. You're the architect of your own boundaries, so build them solid.
Oh, I love that.
That's what we were just talking about. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Be an architect of your boundaries.
There you go.
Yes.
Build that skyscraper of boundaries so they can't get to you. No, I'm just kidding.
Next is keep your relationships professional. So this is pretty interesting. This is pretty dicey, right? Slippery slope here. But you just want to be careful, right? So everyone plays a different role in your life. You know, your different relationships, your peers, your spouse, your family, your friends, your close group, your mentors, everyone plays a different role in supporting you, right? So you just want to have healthy boundaries around your different types of relationships and what the role is in those relationships. And those boundaries are going to be different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So be aware of that.
Yeah. It's just that simple. Go for it. Delegate work when appropriate.
Oh, this is big.
Yeah. One important part of establishing boundaries is in setting expectations about the work you will do. And
yeah, this is a book. So sorry, I put this on the note. I read this book. I don't know if you've read it, Jonathan.
No.
So it's called "Get the Monkey Off Your Back." It's like a 2-hour read.
Okay.
But if you think about it, someone walks up to you and says, at work, someone walks up to you and says, "Hey man, will you get that? I was trying to get that report together and I couldn't find the data. Will you send that over to me? I know you reported on it last week." And then if you say yes, you just put the monkey on your back. Seriously. And this is day-to-day boundary.
And every yes you say is another monkey on your back.
Every yes you say.
Until you're like a barrel of monkeys with just a chain of them.
Just a chain of monkeys suffocating you in a barrel. Right? So I love the book principle. The second someone says, "Hey man, can you send me this?" You have to, before you say yes, you have to go, "Should I say yes to this?"
Yeah.
Because the second you say yes, they literally put that monkey on your back. You can say, "Hey man, I posted that report and how to process that report in our process docs at this link. You can find it there."
Exactly.
I don't have time today.
I think an important thing that I always mention or feel about work is that if you're not a part owner in the company,
Yeah.
don't kill yourself for the company.
Yeah.
Because you, unfortunately, are probably expendable.
Yep.
And your hard work does not equate to an equity stake that pays out.
Yeah.
And the work will never go away.
Never.
And the workflow never stops.
Yep.
And they totally appreciate you and your bosses love you and you're doing so great. And then you're doing great for 5 years until all of a sudden
something happens.
And then they don't need you. So anyway, don't kill yourself unless it's your business.
Yeah. And that's what this podcast is about, is focusing on your dreams.
And focusing on your dreams.
Right. So
hey, if you want to work 80 hours a week on your dreams in your business, 100%.
Yeah.
All day. But don't kill yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to set these boundaries at work. You don't get paid more to answer emails on Saturday.
Yeah. But you know who pays for that? Your family.
Yeah.
Your friends.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And yourself.
Your social life, your sanity, your everything.
That's who pays for that.
Exactly. So what's this? Oh, yeah. Don't be we got to push out the pushover.
That's right. Push out the pushover, the title of this podcast.
Exactly. Set those boundaries.
Yeah. And it's all about, like, you know, for me, it's funny, you know, people, I'm a big like anti-water cooler talk. Like, I've worked from home most of my career, but like I've met people that they go to work and bitch about their family, and then they go to their family and bitch about their work. So and it's just like, what?
They're just miserable.
Just miserable. Like, go away. Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah,
so,
I can't be around those people.
Yeah. So like, again, like if you found yourself in this toxic area where you're just miserable everywhere, it's probably because you didn't set healthy boundaries. for me, like, it's funny. If I'm at work, I don't want to spend 30 minutes talking about some vacation I had last week.
No.
I'm just like, listen, I appreciate the human aspect here, but I want to get shit done so I can go home and hang out with my kids.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't.
Work is not social time.
Yeah. Setting boundaries doesn't make you a bad employee. Setting boundaries makes you the best employee.
Set those boundaries.
And then when you're the best employee, you can get your work done. Then you can go home and you can focus on your whatever it is.
If you know you're not answering any emails or doing anything past a certain time, that makes you get it all done by then.
That's right.
So you can just dip,
and
skip
on them. Don't skip on them dreams. All right, bro. So
I think that's it.
2 songs. One song.
Oh.
So we're late in this episode. So when you're setting personal boundaries this week, turn on this song.
Yeah, bro found a couple of relatable songs.
Don't you step on my blue suede shoes, Elvis Presley.
There you go. That's a clear boundary. And then also, all my rowdy friends are coming over tonight.
So Hank Jr. says, you can do anything you like, but don't you step on my cowboy boots.
That's a clear.
It's very clear.
It's a clear and obvious boundary. So those are bros picks. Just kidding. All right.
All right, that's it, bro.